Okay. So, I also hope, welcome to those who just joined. Um, so grateful for this group of amazing people. So many, so many amazing individuals here. Um, all right. So as many of you know, um, these are unprecedented times. Um, just in the last couple months, we've seen top direct sales companies completely shut off their direct sales branch and convert to affiliate models, um, get away with multiple levels and just move to one level. So um, preeminent among these, we have Rodan and Fields, and then we also saw um, who was the other big company? Oh, Beachbody. Um, both huge, huge companies. I mean, Rodan and Fields over 1 billion. Um, And then we also see just kind of a mass exodus. A lot of leaders who are just kind of walking from that model. There's another top influencer who's starting his own company, and he's creating more of an influencer affiliate type model. So in these unprecedented times,
Lots going down across the board. I heard from people yesterday in Latin markets. Matt, your experience with Farmacia and what they tried to do in Brazil. They've tried to be really amazing and offer a lot of things. So there's some people that are getting aggressive in this market, and we want to just be here with a sound approach. As you know, what were we talking about the other day, Lindsay? 31 going down, this other company going down. And I think we might hear more before the end of the year. So, Matt, you've been a pro at talking to these people and helping them. And we're so excited to have your insights
for those of
here.
you who don't know Matt Hall, he and his lovely wife have been building for, gosh, 11 years now. They are double diamonds, founders 2.0 in the US, founders in the Brazil market. So super grateful to be partnered with them. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear from you and hear what you're seeing, what you're learning, and what's the lay of the land.
And then we'll mastermind all together. So we'll hear from Matt, and then we want to bring all those ideas together to go to new heights together. Matt, take it away.
Hey guys, super excited to be here. And I confess that when Andy and Natalie first wrote to me and said, "Hey Matt, can you talk about how you develop relationships and reach out to people that are in other companies?" I was like, in my mind, I was like, yuck. Like, no. And the reason I had that first initial impression is because I think that this is a super delicate topic, right? And the only reason why I didn't think yuck about the Goddards, like they can say that, and I was like, I don't know if I can say that. Like, this is not something I've ever done a training on for my team or for anyone. But the Goddards are just so clear and clean in their intentions, that I was like, okay, I can be like them. I think I can come up with some tips on how to do this the right way, because it's true that my wife and I have been successful at bringing a lot of people from multiple different companies over to doTERRA over the years. And so I'd love to share a little bit about how that's happened. And so I did come up, I've got a whole page of notes in front of me. I don't have, I definitely don't have a PowerPoint or anything like that. But I have I've got some ideas and some concepts that I do think will be extremely helpful. And just to echo what they said, I know for sure, just from the circles that we run in and some of the conversations that we've had with other top leaders. I know for sure there will be 2 or 3 other companies, big companies that are, we're talking about companies that do, $300 million a year or more, that will announce that they're going affiliate before the end of the year. And so I kind of, I always like to start by putting myself in the mind of my potential prospect. And not even before we talk about prospects, I just think about friends, right? And my friends who are in these other companies, first of all, I never, ever, ever want to be the person to take someone away from a place where they're happy, or even cause doubt in the mind of someone who's happy, because I wouldn't want anyone to do the same to me or to someone in my team, right? And so I think first, approaching it and starting with that mindset. At the same time, if, and I know that obviously this would never happen in doTERRA. We've heard this over and over and over again from the lips of our founders, and I'm so grateful we're in the company that we are. But if I were in their shoes, and if something ever did happen to my doTERRA business, I would want as many offers, as many people putting offers of support or transition or love on my table as possible. And so I think, there's some people who have this concept in their mind of, well, when a company shuts down, you don't want to be the vulture, right? That goes in and tries to pick apart and tear away people from where they were. And while I get that sentiment, at the same time, if you're silent, if you're not the person to speak up when you see a friend going through a terrible transition, then, do you really believe in what it is that you have? Right? And so a couple core beliefs that I think are important to carry with you before I get into some kind of tactical things is, number one, I think you need to have, the only way you attract people from other network marketing companies to come and work with you in the future is if you have a strong love for network marketing. Like, you can't have only a strong love for doTERRA and hate all other network marketing companies and just believe they're bad. Like, you have to really have a love for this profession. And if you do that, then, you'll be the person who, when someone else in another company is rising, you'll be the person to applaud them. I've even sent people recognition gifts. Like, I sent a friend of mine who we just talked for a while, for like probably 2 years. We just talked about what was working in our businesses as friends, and they ranked up to a really significant rank in their compensation plan. And I'm not in their upline. I'm not even in the same company, but I sent them a recognition gift, like just to congratulate them and just to be a good friend. And that person ended up later joining our doTERRA business, right? And I didn't do that as a strategy. Like, I've only done that one time. I just did it because, God put that in my heart to send that person that gift, right? Without any idea that maybe they could join me in the future. So I'll share a few specific stories like that. But number one, I think that belief in network marketing is an important first step. And then obviously the second step is you do need to have belief that we are the best. Like, there's nothing out there that compares with doTERRA when you stack up all of what we have. Now, it's interesting because I could show you a compensation plan for another network marketing company that pays out 75%, where doTERRA pays out 50%, right? Like, there's companies out there that pay out more, but when you evaluate all of the categories, like, I had this guy once, he was like, hey, just tell me roughly your numbers, and I want to calculate what you would be earning if you were in my compensation plan. And he came back to me and showed me the spreadsheet, and I was like, okay, we'll do this for fun. Like, let's see if I can bring this guy to doTERRA, right? So I'm playing along, being his buddy. And so he comes back with this spreadsheet and he was like, you'd be making 3 times more if you had the same volume in my company. And then I asked him, okay, how many people in your company have my volume? And he said 0. And I said, so how can you guarantee me that I could create the same level of volume with the same level of ease with the acceptance of our products, the retention of our customers, all of the things that enable me to have the volume that I have, how could you guarantee me that I could have that in your compensation plan? You're analyzing one factor, but one factor doesn't make $1 billion company, right? So, and it's interesting. He ended up 2 weeks later, he actually moved to a different company. He didn't move to doTERRA, so I was kind of sad about that. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So having the belief that network marketing in general is the best profession in the world, like nothing is better. Number two, that we're the best. Really quick, what are some of the pros of somebody joining you from another company? I think that's obvious. People that have experience, they have know-how, maybe they have a certain level of influence. I love watching some of these leaders that are on this call that have come over from other companies who, like, you know who your runners are, like you know who the people are who actually are going to put in the work. And I've thought, man, if I started over from scratch, how would placements be different from me knowing what I know after watching my team grow? You know what I mean? So there's benefits from someone starting that has built a team beyond the fact of them bringing over their team, but just the way they're able to restructure their team can be a huge benefit. The speed, we've had 15 people on our team hit diamond in their first month of joining us. And I would say of those 15, probably 12 of those were people that were in other companies. 3 of them were people that were influencers online. So they just had a massive audience. But it's not uncommon for someone to come over and be able to hit diamond in their first month when they're coming from a place where they have influence, even if they weren't at a diamond equivalent rank at that company. Like we've had people who were at a gold equivalent in another company. They come over to doTERRA and they hit diamond in their first month. That's happened. It's also happened where they were a presidential diamond equivalent at another company, and then they come over and they hit gold their first month, right? So it just depends on a lot of factors. I do want to mention some of the cons of this target market, because I had a great conversation with Eric Worre at the last mastermind I was at with him. And, you know, he talks about the way you grow is often the way you decline. So if your main growth strategy is acquisition of leaders, then one of the main ways that you will decline will be through acquisition of leaders. In other words, there will be some people who might not have the same level of loyalty and might be willing to be acquired in quotations by another company. And so when Natalie mentioned we've had a little bit of decline in Brazil this year. And part of that has been that a few leaders were willing to accept some financial deals from another company, which interestingly enough, not one of them ever actually qualified for the extra financial help. So it was a terrible decision for all of them. And none of them had significant team that followed them. But we did have some leaders step out because of this acquisition mindset, if that makes sense. So I wanted to mention a couple of the cons. Another con is anyone coming from another company, they have to go through a detox. They have to go through the MLM detox, and maybe certain companies more so than others. But we do things differently in doTERRA, right? Our culture is just so different. And if they're not willing to empty their cup and come as an empty vessel, then rarely will they have big success here. And so that's another thing I often, warn people of, is if they are coming from another company, I'll say, listen, before you make this decision, I want you to know that if you're not humble enough to totally empty your cup and come over to with a clean slate, this is a new culture. It's a different culture. It's a different paradigm. It's a different way that we build. And if that's not comfortable for you, then it's better for you to stay where you are. And I am transparent and honest with people about that before they make any transition. Because egos are real, right? And ego is, especially someone who's had significant results in another company, oftentimes you have to be good at managing big egos and big personalities. Okay, So those are just a couple notes that I took on kind of beliefs and things I wanted to share before I get into some more tactics. So first, I want to talk about companies going out of business, because this is kind of like, if you were to say that there's low hanging fruit, this is like low hanging fruit, right? People that, honestly, I would say 80% of people who go through a rug pull, like Rodan and Fields and Saint, Beachbody, Advocare. Advocare, it happened like 2 years ago. 32, any of these companies, I would say that probably 80% of those leaders, they are just going to move on and never do network marketing again, which is really sad. It's really sad and tragic to see. But after, just being burned so badly, oftentimes they're not going to be open to a conversation. At the same time, like I said, if I were in those shoes, I'm someone who, I love network marketing so much that I love our business model. I think doTERRA is the best, but I love our business model. And I would want as many people offering support and aid and offers and, anything on my table possible. So the way that I have reached out to people that I personally know, and I haven't reached out to anybody that I don't personally know that's gone through a rug pull. So that's the first thing, is I developed the relationship first. There's the concept of dig your well before you're thirsty, right? So I'm a big believer in building relationships. And I'll give you one example. We have a guy on our front line named Bruno. He's a blue diamond. He's built a team that does hundreds of thousands in sales every single month. He joined us 2 years ago from another company. But it was 8 years ago that I first sent a message to Bruno. And for 6 years, I never once invited him to doTERRA. For 6 years, we maintained a relationship and a dialogue. And I never said, hey, you should come check out what we have. Why? Because I knew that he was happy where he was. So my intention is never to take someone away from a place where they're happy. And again, even if I talked to him about doTERRA, I knew I would create doubt in his mind that he's in the best place, because I know he's not. And I don't even want to be that person that creates doubt in his mind. And so we just developed a relationship. However, when the doubt came internally for him and he saw the writing on the wall, this company is going to pull out of our country, who did he reach out to? He reached out to someone that he knew. And there were other people that maybe he had a better relationship with, but he reached out to me because I had been a neutral relationship, a neutral person. And he joined. He hit diamond, and one of his frontline leaders hit diamond in their first month with us. And that is actually what solidified us from being presidential on BOGO months to being presidential every single month without fail for the last 2.5 years. So, companies going out of business, how would I approach them? If you know someone in these companies, I would simply state what I just said and say, listen, I ask myself, if I were in your shoes, what would I want right now? And I'm curious, as your friend, you might be in the boat of those people who are just burned on network marketing and choose to never build this business again. First of all, before I talk to you about anything else, I want you to know, I hope you don't abandon this industry, because this profession, according to my beliefs, is the way that we can make the biggest impact in the world. And I've seen the impact that you've created in the past. And I believe that you staying in this profession, you're going to bounce back so much faster than you can imagine. And you're going to have an even bigger impact on people's lives moving forward. Regardless of if you're interested or open to looking at what I have or not, I hope you stay in the profession. And that's how I would start the conversation with someone that's gone through a rug pull, is simply try to restore their belief a little bit in the business model. Second, I would say, if you are open at all, I hope that you won't say no to me until you know what you're saying no to. And that's a line that I use a lot. Until you see the full vision of what I share with you, I hope that you won't discard this as an option, because I think we could create some magic together. And that would be the second point that I would put in there before I even talk to them about doTERRA. And then we always in our business, we're just asking for openness. So I'd say, are you open to take a look? And let's have a call. And then, I'd do a Zoom and talk to them about everything that I believe is right about what we have to offer. The founders, their vision, their commitment to the network marketing model, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll give you an example of when I did this successfully. So I have a platinum, actually, a personally enrolled platinum of mine. She's not a qualifier. I placed her down on my 3rd level, but her name is Rose, and Rose went through a rug pull. And this is her company shut down. Her company closed. And this is an example where I actually didn't know her. She was actually a cold contact in this scenario. And I haven't done this often where I talk to people that I don't know already or have developed some kind of relationship with, but she was one. And I literally sent her a message. I saw that it was her birthday, and I just said, "Hey, happy birthday." And everyone who's on this call is a diamond, so I feel like I can be totally transparent about exactly how I recruited her, okay? Because this is not a duplicatable strategy that you could teach to your team. But I literally said, "Hey, happy birthday. How would you like a trip to the United States as a birthday present?" And I said, "Hey, basically, I would love to fly you out to the United States to take a look at our company. I see that yours just shut down. It's your birthday. Why don't we do something crazy?" And that was my first message to her. That was my approach. Okay. Like we've never talked before in our lives. And she was just like, "What? Who are you? This is weird." And I was like, "I'm dead serious. Let's hop on a Zoom call." And so we got on a Zoom call that day on her birthday, the day, like 2 days before their company had shut down. And guess what? I never actually flew her out to the US because she didn't have a visa. So she couldn't even come. But just the offer, the bold offer, and I would have backed it up. Like I would have flown her out because I knew she was someone who could grow a significant team, right? They're actually pushing for diamond this month. So I think they'll hit diamond this month. They've been with us for 3 years. They hit platinum in their 3rd month, I think, of building the business, and they've been platinum since. But are you willing to do crazy things? Are you willing to invest? Like each of you, think about it. If you had somebody new join your team, she hit silver her first month. So she passed premier. If you're a diamond here, paid as diamond, minimum, you'd get a $2,000 bonus from that extra share. That will pay for the plane ticket from anywhere in the world. From anywhere in the world. Why would you not utilize that, right? Especially with someone that you know has the capacity of hitting silver in their first month. So I'm willing to go into the negative on someone for a short while if I have a clear path for where that profit's going to, or where that break-even point's going to be in the next couple months. So that's one example of someone who I didn't know. That's literally how I approached her. Okay. Then there's others that I've nurtured for a long time, like Bruno that I mentioned for 7 years. I'll give you another example. And this one is from our beloved cousin or stepsister. I don't know, Young Living. What would you call Young Living? We have helped several people transition from Young Living. We've even helped some people transition from Young Living that are not on our team today, they didn't come to us, but we were just a part of that transition process. And the reason why that happened. So there's a girl on our team named Donnie. Later this month, I'm doing a 3-state tour with her and her husband on the East Coast, and they are diamonds. They were golds in Young Living. So they're an example of someone who has a bigger result today in doTERRA than they had after 6 or 7 years of building in Young Living. They were golds. They live in New York. And she was one who we just developed a relationship through Instagram. And if you want to, well, let me back up a little bit. If you're taking notes, write this down, okay? There are certain categories that we market to in our business. First is hot market. Hot market are people that are the closest to you and your new wellness advocate. Hot market people, they will buy just to help you. As a motivation, just to help you, they'll buy something from you. Warm market is the rest of the people that you know. where they will only buy if they see benefit in their purchase for themselves and if they know, like, and trust you. Okay. They need to know, like, and trust you and see some kind of benefit for themselves. Cold market people will only buy from you also if they know, like, and trust you and if they see benefit in it for themselves. But I approach cold market very different than I approach warm market. So cold market, when we're talking about starting a new relationship with someone that you don't know, the first step, at least in my process, my goal is to develop that person into a friend. So they get into the warm market category. The best way to develop a friend is to first be their fan. So write that down. You go from be a fan to become a friend. See, sometimes, like, you might feel like, oh, I'm already a diamond in doTERRA. I have posture. Like, I want to bring this person value in some way. You know, I want to be a mentor to them. And that's not the best first step. The best first step for developing a relationship is to, one, have the intention that if they never join your team, you know, you're still going to be friends for 7 years, like I was with Bruno, right? And to be their fan first, that's the easiest way to start a conversation. So I'll give you another example. I recruited a guy from a company in the Philippines, and my approach to building a relationship with him, this is another one that it actually transitioned to him joining doTERRA very quickly. It was like within 3 months, he moved over to our team. But my first outreach to him was, hey, I know nothing. I know a lot about network marketing. We've had a lot of success, but I know very little about building successful teams in the Philippines. I am a fan of yours. I see what you've done and I'm super impressed. I need to learn from you. I want to learn from you. Can we please hop on a call and can I learn everything about building successfully in the Philippines? So I put him in the position of authority. I was the fan. Now, as soon as he found out how much I was making and the size of team that we had, the authority came automatically. Like, he automatically became my fan as well, if that makes sense. But to start out the relationship, I actually looked to get value from him in me being a fan. And that psychologically elevates their level of confidence. And like, he didn't feel like I was coming after him, right? Because truly I wasn't. I was coming to him to learn. And if he never joined me in doTERRA, I still would have gained benefit from that relationship. I still would have learned, right? And so that's kind of the way that I think about it. And he ended up joining us and building the business. Now, he's also an example of sometimes where you grow by acquisition, you also decline by acquisition. So I also lost him to another company. And in my mind, am I like disappointed by that? Not at all, because he built with me for 6 months and he left behind a lot of really great people that fell in love with the doTERRA culture. And so while the doTERRA culture ended up not being a fit for him, it doesn't really matter. Like, I gained 3 new frontline people that wanted to stay with me and build a team. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the mindset that I have. Let's see. Oh yeah. So going back to the Young Living example of Danny. So if you can cheer for someone else through their growth in another company, and you can be their biggest fan as they're growing, the relationship will be real. And then if they experience a moment of decline, you will be that person that's top of mind for them, right? That person who has a relationship. And so I just think when people approach this concept of building with or attracting people from other companies, they're just thinking way too short term. And I have some examples of how short-term successes come. But you have to build intentionally thinking about the long term. So Danny, a golden Young Living, I cheered for her like crazy when she hit gold. I remember the day she went from silver to gold. And genuinely, I was just so happy for her to have that breakthrough. And it was years. It was a couple of years that we were just having conversations back and forth on Instagram before one day her company said, hey, we're pulling out of Brazil. Now, the interesting thing is she's a Brazilian living in New York. Only like 10 or 20% of her volume was even in Brazil. Most of her volume was in the US. So it wasn't like she lost her income overnight, but her trust in the company she lost overnight. And talk about needing to help someone go through a detox. There's no detox that's harder to do than the Young Living detox. Okay, I'll just tell you guys that up front. Like, I would put that on the last people on your list to develop relationships with, because the detox there is just, we are literally of the devil. Like, we are children of the devil in their minds. I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. Well, I do know why, but anyway. So, but for her, because we had talked for 2 years, and again, never once, I had kind of teased her because we had a playful relationship. So I had teased her and her husband. I had said, hey, like, if you guys ever want to come over to come away from the dark side, like, we're here for you. And so I had kind of bantered and played with them a little bit more, but I had never directly said, hey, we need to sit down and talk about doTERRA. And it just so happened that when their belief was low, because I had cheered for them through their rise, we had a relationship, and they were open to us having a conversation. And I still had to start the conversation. So it wasn't like, hey, Matt, our company is pulling out of Brazil. Can we come and build doTERRA with you? No. I then reached out to them after 2 years of building a relationship, and I said, hey, I've heard the news. I can't imagine what you must be feeling. Maybe this isn't a game changer for you. Maybe it is, but I just wanted you to know I'm here. If a transition is something that you're open to thinking about, or if it's something you're already talking about, then I'm here to support you. And I'd love to have a conversation of what that could look like. If not, I'm going to continue being your biggest cheerleader in doTERRA. Nobody will cheer harder for you as you continue to grow in Young Living than I will. And that kind of posture, it just is powerful. And for me, it truly is real. So I don't know. My biggest strategy, be a good human, be a normal human. I think that's number one. Any questions? I think that's all that kind of I had in my mind to share.
Matt, I love the way you've positioned it and given us context, because I think that's so important. If we are in a relationships business, and when we forget being a good human, or when we forget the relationship, when that is not, the key point, the primary point, everything else falls away. We've seen this in lots of places, throughout our time. And I think all of us have experienced it. If it's not authentic, if it's not real, if it's not caring, if it's not focused on the relationship, it just won't work. So whatever we do without that, it's not going to bring fruits, right? But can you feel Matt's heart? Can you see, like, yeah, he's doing the work to develop relationships. He gets that he has a business. He wants to be wise with the business, but he really cares about people, right? So that's winning. That's overall. He knows everything else will line up. So Matt, that didn't happen for you overnight. How did you get that, or make sure that you had that mindset or kept that mindset? And then we'll hit the questions in the chat. So keep dropping your questions in the chat or raise your hand.
Yeah, I really think that, all relationships are an art form, not a science. We have that graph that you guys taught me early on of the science versus the art. And I think that relationships are an art. And so I think it's a feeling that's developed. And it's the same reason why, like, I'm kind of extreme in my level of protection of relationships. Like, I feel like I haven't really lost any relationships with doTERRA leaders of mine either. And the reason is, like, exceptions, swaps, account transfers, I never do them. Never. I never broach the subject of somebody moving out of a spot or or, you know, like, and not to say that there's never, I'm not going to say never, I shouldn't say never, but like those things are so far out of the realm of, the relationship is always the only thing that matters above earnings. And so I think that, I don't know how I developed it, Natalie. I think it's just over time and trial and error too. Like I have been the spammy guy. I've been the spammy. I remember in our first year of building doTERRA, I was the guy who put flyers on cars at 22 years old on
Oh,
our
yeah.
university because I was desperate. I was desperate to get any kind of results and financial, relief. I also remember, like writing to 1,000 people on Facebook and just that I didn't know. Like I've done all of those cringy things back in my first year or two of building the business out of desperation, and just seeing the result that they didn't work. And so I think it's just feedback and adapting, to the feedback that we get.
So I think that's why it's so vital, right? Because maybe some of us this has not been something that we've been doing a lot, right? So thank you for sharing your feedback. So we could, we all will have wins and losses in this realm, but let's fail faster and learn more. And Matt has just shared with you a lot of his fails and some of his wins. So you can get that feedback from the harvest, right? So, first question from Stacy. Can you share some strategies as far as helping them to transition over financially and structurally?
Yeah. So I'm super honest with people about, the style of compensation plan we have. We don't have an upfront money compensation plan. We have the best long-term residual income structured compensation plan. And so sometimes it looks like that person going and doing something on the side while that nobody knows about, because they want to maintain the perception of I'm a full-time network marketer. But sometimes you need to have a hard conversation with them and say, hey, this might take 6 months for you to get to where you have a livable income. So is there something that you can do on the side? You don't have to advertise that you're doing it, but can you get a job for 6 months that helps to manage the bills while you build this on the side? Now, if the person is in a position, if the person is in a place where financially it's going to make a big difference for you, like if you're a diamond right now and you have 4 golds that are requalifying every month and you just need 1 more gold, well, that person, I mean, you can invest a lot into that person to help bridge the gap. So, we've done a lot of bridge plans in our team, and some of those have been small. Like I've done bridge plans in countries like the Philippines, where it's like, hey, I'm gonna guarantee your income at $500 a month, and here are the targets that you need to reach. And anything that you don't get from your doTERRA commissions hitting these targets, I'm going to pay out of my pocket. So it doesn't need to be something big. I've also done $10,000 a month bridge plans, only once or twice, right? And that's
Which, just to be clear, I don't think very many of those $10,000 ones worked. The $3,000 ones worked. Did you have any tens that worked?
so Bruno is a case
That
where
it worked.
I did even more than that in financial investing on a monthly basis.
Against our
But
recommendation.
yes, but again, what that did is it helped us hit presidential diamond every single month. So there was not 1 month that I lost money on, like he had to hit diamond every month
Mhm.
from his first month. And so that's going to be a really rare scenario, right? And every month that he hit diamond and got that payout, it was coming out of, like, we basically just lived, we were netting a blue diamond income from a presidential check. And there was zero risk in that for us because our other 5 legs were all solid platinum or above. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm willing to do crazy things, but at the same time, I'm not going to go bank. I'm not going to put my family at risk, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
2,000 for
and
most
I
people,
hope you can see,
$2,000.
guys, look at this. Like, is Matt willing to invest in people and willing to invest in his business? That's one of the biggest things that I don't see a lot of, right? People are like, hey, my income is my income. I need this nest egg. This is the way it needs to be. Well, you were willing to sacrifice for a while, Matt.
It was 1 year that I paid him that. Yeah. So
And looking back now, would you do it all over again?
absolutely.
Absolutely. So keep that in mind. I think in general, Bruno is a huge exception.
For sure.
I know of other, Eric or Justin, like I know other presidentials and what they're doing bridges for, and most $10,000 a month bridges just ended up being flushes down the toilet because they didn't set them up right. So we'll share a template for a bridge in the WhatsApp chat so that you guys can see what that looks like, but it's actually really sustainable. We find the most successes up to like that 500 range, like Matt was talking about, up to 3,000. Once we
Nice.
go over 3,000, somehow the money is too big or something that like it poofs out, and that's been our experience. So that's the range that we support. And we share that and split that between like at least 3 leaders. And like Matt was saying, it's not like, I'm not saying, hey, we're going to give you 3,000 cash. We're saying whatever we do in doTERRA, you hit this target and we'll pay the difference to guarantee you 3,000. So whatever money you make from doTERRA, you're going to tell us that exact amount. We're going to, between the 3 uplines, we're going to share the difference. And that's how we do it financially.
And I'll tell you guys the easiest way to do this, and the way that I would look at it if you're starting, okay?
Mhm.
Like if you've never done a bridge plan, you're like, I'm scared of this concept of throwing additional money at a team. Here's where I'd start. If you're a diamond, you're getting paid as diamond each month, then you know that when you have a new premier, you earn $2,000. That money can be what feeds that bridge plan. So if you have a $500 guarantee that you offer to someone, or let's say you do 1,000. Let's say you do $1,000 guarantee, but you put as the goals a rank that like you put elite and then premier their second month. So in their second month, they're going to probably make about $500. So, yeah, so maybe 500 is coming from you, 500 is coming from the compensation plan. You can do that for 4 months and you still profit. Like in the second month, they have to hit premier where you get that full $2,000 and then you're just dispersing it over the next 2 or 3 months. So you're really safe financially. If you're a blue diamond, when you have a new person hit premier, that's $4,000. So if you create a bridge plan where you're telling someone, hey, you need to hit elite your first month, premier your second month, there's only risk for you in the first month. And then the second month, you get all of the rest of the funding to carry that bridge for the next 2 or 3 or 4 months. So that's the way I would structure it if you are looking at doing this for the first time with someone. Does that make sense how I explain that?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's powerful. We'll put a little example in there. I was trying to find one so you could just see, but it is just what Matt said. It's not that much money when it really comes down to it. Like the first 3 months or so, that's when you'll make the biggest sacrifice. But most of the time, all you need to do is a 6-month bridge, and then they're back on their feet, right? It's a bridge from one point where they were in this other company to sustaining, like having this is not, if they're making $10,000 a month, it's not a bridge from 10,000 to 10,000. But if those are their expenses, you're trying to get them back to where they are so that they have the courage to let go of what feels safe to them and wise to them and get on that bridge with you, right?
And sometimes it's not even where they were, but it's like, what do you need to just barely survive?
Yeah, sustain. So of course, like our goal is to show them that they can get to the other. But yeah, a lot of times we'll have those conversations, right? What's the essentials that you need to survive? Because a lot of those people have gotten into habits of living bigger, right? So we peel that down. What are your essentials? How can we address that? Structurally, Matt, like most of the time, it's like if they've built before and their company's going under, you're helping them pick out those leaders that they want to run with going forward.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. And there's certain things like anyone coming from another company, they're going to say, oh, I want 4 family members on my front line. And then I'm going to put my real builders under them so that I can earn on, like they have all of these little, bad habits. And so any extra support is, you have to, from the very beginning, say, like, you're not going to get any extra support if you're trying to game the system, or if you don't build this the way that it needs to be built. Um, so yeah, but structurally, yeah, we just say, hey, pick your runners. And oftentimes it's a hard discussion because sometimes they're moving from like a binary plan to our unilevel plan where they're used to just building 2 teams. And their habit is to just place people in a straight line down, and you have to re-educate them on like, this is a totally different game. We want people high and tight, as high and tight as we can keep them to you.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. Here's a quick view of what a bridge plan looks like. So this is if you're bridging 1500. If they're hitting elite with fast starts, they might be closer to 800. So the bridge payout is 700. And then that would get split between the 3 upline, right? So you can see that that first month, and this is just approximate. It turns out being a little bit different. You don't know exactly, but approximately $700 investment the first month that your investment is only 238 of. And this takes a moment to engage those other leaders, right? You got to go to your upline. You got to ask them to invest. And then you're choosing, what's a healthy progression rank wise for them. And then look at how those expenses go down as they progress rank wise, right? And we're always like saying, hey, here's our intention. These are the requirements. And what else is there? So we'll share that on the WhatsApp chat, but let's keep moving. Love those structure ideas as well. Lindsay was asking, how do you identify those on social media who are with those companies? Many times they don't say they are with a company unless I'm not following the right people. How do you do that?
I'm sorry, will you repeat the question?
How do you're good. How do you identify those on social media who are with the companies that are going under or transitioning to a different model? Sometimes they don't say they're with a company unless she's not following the right people.
So here's the thing is I don't really go hunting. Like I mostly just, so as an example, like one thing I did recently when we found out when that Beachbody was closing down. So one of the things I did is I reached out to those on my team, on my existing team here in the US, and I said, hey, if you know anybody in Beachbody, I'd love to just have a conversation with them. And it's not going to be a conversation of, trying to convince them to do doTERRA, but maybe just giving them some general advice, because we've seen a lot of people go through this and we've helped a lot of people go through it in a healthy way, whether they come to doTERRA or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that could put in front of you a bunch of people who are in Beachbody. So the best way to go is always where there's already relationships. Now, if you're talking about developing a brand new relationship, like Rose, for example, the girl who her company shut down and I reached out to her 3 days later. I I think if I remember right, I saw the news that that company was closing, and I just went on that company's social media profile, and I saw that she was one of the people who was there liking every single post. She was one who was engaging with that content. Trying to think. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't, I'm not sitting down and on a daily basis and trying to, be like, let's see how many Beachbody friends I can make today. You know what I mean? It happens more organically than that. And probably part of the reason why it does happen more organically for me is that I follow so many people that are in network marketing, and I engage with so many people that are in different companies. That's what my feed is full of. My feed is full of people that are in other companies. And so it's just easy for me to naturally start to build relationships as they pop up in my feed,
So Matt, on that, I feel like, wouldn't you naturally say that that started out with your desire to do personal development and keep upping your game as a network marketer?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. That's always been my intention from learning from other people. I think there's a lot of value in learning from people that are in other companies. Now, I would never give that advice to my team because you have to have this, you have to have a resilient mindset, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of people, they just don't have the maturity. That's why, even Eric Worre's stuff, you'll notice, I'm in his mastermind and I would get paid money to promote his events. And I'm pretty quiet. I don't really promote his stuff that much. And the reason is because I know that a lot of people on my team can be easily distracted, or they could be, or they don't have as strong of a mindset as me. And so there's just a balance there's a balance that I feel, at least, and that might be a limiting belief of mine, but there's a balance that I choose to dance with.
I think it's healthy to know that balance for each of us, right? And, like you were talking about in the beginning, you got to watch that belief that someone has. That's precious. And we don't mess with other people's belief, and we don't mess with our own belief. Like, if you're not solid in your own belief right now, I would say that is assignment number one, is how can you get solid? Because when you hear Matt give, right, tell us a little bit about his approach. Can you do that kind of approach? Do you really feel that way? And wherever you have weakness, right, according to the belief levels or whatever, you're going to want to strengthen that, because that approach will work if you authentically feel it, but it won't reap the same rewards if you don't.
Yeah, magnetism only works if you're the stronger magnet. Right? If it's only going to work in your favor if you're the stronger magnet. If you are so solid in where you are and what you believe, then other people they'll flow to you. But if not, if you're the small magnet, you're going to constantly get sucked around to any other big magnet that's around you, right? So
That's powerful to understand. Matt, you were talking about what you did for their other leaders, if they brought other leaders in. And so sometimes you do the matching fast starts, but not necessarily, hey, we're going to do this bridge plan and then 7 other bridge plans, or like that just becomes too costly.
yeah.
And it isn't really necessary. If you're working with the kingpin, you help that kingpin with the bridge plan. There might be some other kingpins that they won't come over any other way. But most people, if you'll just give them a moment to come to know doTERRA, to look closer, they'll choose in because they see the real value that doTERRA is offering and we're offering.
Here's the other thing that I'd say, Natalie, on that is, if someone's not willing to come without extra financial support, if they're not willing to come without a bridge plan, then I don't offer them a bridge plan. That is crucial to me. If it's only about the money for them, then it's just not a right fit. And so the bridge plan is designed, and any extra incentive is designed to just speed up the process. It's gas on the fire, but it's not the ignition. It's not the spark. If it's the spark, then this is not the right place for them, right? And so I've had the majority of those people, those, whatever it is, 13 diamonds that came from other companies that hit in their first month on my team. The majority of those did not have a bridge plan.
Mhm.
The majority of them just came, our compensation plan is good enough. And especially if someone has the ability to hit diamond in their first month, like with
Mhm.
those extra shares, you're talking about a massive payout in their first month, And
Mhm.
so there's been many times when I've helped people orchestrate their transition and I haven't given them any extra financial incentive.
Mhm.
Um, so it's because they weren't going to directly contribute to my, my income. Um, and so I couldn't, and I'm not going to offer, $300 to someone, something that's not significant. Anyway, so
I think that's really important because that becomes a little marker, right? You'll be able to tell if people's hearts are in it or if they're just like, hey, here's some extra cash that I can pick up along the way, right? So you've got to like weigh and feel that authentic connection and that they're showing up, or else sometimes those investments just come to naught, right?
at the same time,
Go ahead.
some of you already, like, you're not open to the idea, and so you won't attract the possibility into your existence.
Mhm.
What are you not attracting because you're not willing to think more abundantly? If there's one thing that the Goddards have taught us being on their front line, it's that success follows an abundant mindset, right? And big belief. We've seen that over and over and over and over again because of their example. And so, like, if you're listening to this conversation and you're saying, "Hey, I'm not even open to doing bridge plans," then you're never going to attract someone who would be deserving of a bridge plan,
Hmm.
right? Or at least it's less likely, in my opinion. Like, you never attract that which you're repelled by, right? So I would just challenge each of you on the call, like, how can you open yourself up to a higher level of abundance by having a bigger belief and a bigger willingness to play big with the resources that God has gifted you with?
Wow. That's a great challenge and a great question for each of us to reflect on. And hopefully this morning, this morning here in the US, we have the stock market like off the charts and but we haven't had that for a long time. And so I think this is a real stretch for us. Can we think more abundantly, even when there's things that are less abundant around us, right? Um, it's about discipline, and it's about what we let into our mind and our heart. And you can give space to abundance and belief, or you can give space to fear, doubt, and worry. But it really is just that. It's a choice. You choose abundance, faith, belief, or fear, doubt, and worry. And you get to choose which side you're on. How much time do you spend in nurturing relationships every week, Matt?
So I have a minimum of 1 to 2 hours per day that I spend, having nurturing conversations with people. And the majority of those are and with people that are not enrolled yet in doTERRA. So 1 to 2 hours every single day. And that to me is like nothing gets in the way of that sacred time for me. It's blocked in every day. It doesn't matter how many team calls, it doesn't matter how many fires there are to put out. Nothing is more sacred to me than that 1 to 2 hours. Um, and again, that's not only nurturing relationships with people that are in network marketing, right? Most of my enrollments, like I signed up a girl today who's in Austria, who, I just reached out to her on Instagram and we connected, and we've been talking now for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, we've been talking back and forth. And today was the day that she decided to sign up, and she signed up. and she's never built network marketing before, but she's super excited. And so it's not, most of my enrollments are people that have never done network marketing before. But
So nurturing relationships could be hot, warm, cold market, or your team, would you say? Or is it hot, warm, and cold only?
yeah, the 1 to 2 hours is specifically for people that are not enrolled yet.
Okay.
Spend additional time on top of that, talking to my team.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you guys, does that take some discipline to get there, Matt? Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
wasn't natural. You could get swept up in the support. I'm going to support my team. How big
Mhm.
is your team now? It's big,
$500,000. Yeah.
but you choose to nurture new relationships.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Any other questions? Gone over a couple minutes, but I want to make sure we get anything in. I like what you mentioned, Matt, about the matching fast starts for those other people. The only thing I would say is sometimes those need to go 90 days to have them be of enough benefit to get people started strong. So Matt is a legend, and so are so many of you. You want to hit that last one?
Let's see, which one here? Do you have a list of qualities or what you look for in people that you would use
The bridge strategy.
bridge strategy? No.
Like anything that you're looking for, what are you, I mean, you said one was that they would come either way, right? With a bridge or without a bridge.
Yeah. I mean, I only do a bridge for people that are coming from other companies. If they haven't, and if they have another income source, I don't even offer a bridge, like if they have a job, because resources are limited. And I don't offer it where I don't feel like it is needed or where it's going to really be a big difference maker. You know, usually the way that people are using the bridge that I'm bridging, they're using it for travel. Like they're using it to get out there, get on the streets and, fill their car with gas and go to work.
Mhm.
And we're talking about this as if it's something that I do all the time. Right now, I have, I think, 2 people that I'm doing a bridge for, but those are recent. And like at any given time, I might have 1 or 2, and I'm probably the person that does them more than anyone, you know. But it's not like every single person that joins me is I'm putting them on a bridge plan. It's quite rare.
Yeah. And Jessica's asking if they'd come either way, why would you provide it? So what's the upside?
Yeah, the upside is a couple things. Number one, I always tie the bridge to a 3-year non-compete contract. So they cannot go to another network marketing company without paying me that back. So it's it's a way, at least that's what I've been doing for the last like 2 years. All of them I've had a non-compete. And so it's a way for me to kind of lock in their commitment to a long-term thing. Like they're saying, okay, I'm really in this for the long term.
Mhm.
And I've actually, in one case, that non-compete actually was the difference maker for me keeping a leader in my team in a moment of doubt that he had, and he ended up staying. And that was one of the factors. The other thing is it just speeds up the process. It's like money is like gas on a fire, right? The more resources that person has to run after their goal, reinvest into their team and their business, it just creates speed. So
That's a great way to say it. It creates speed. It helps them invest bigger and jump in more. So their thoughts aren't on, oh, wait, I got to have enough finances to pay my rent, Allie's asking, how do you make sure that the person receiving the bridge isn't going to talk about it and make other people feel gypped?
I've never seen someone who's excited to talk about it.
They're wanting to keep it on the DL. And the other thing is, if you're clear, hey, I'm offering this to you, but we have limited resources I want to make sure that you and your team can come across, but this is what we have to offer. Then they're not going to tell their team because they know that's not an option, right? You've got to let them know this is not like a spigot that you're turning on of endless flow of money. This is you qualify. We want to help you come across because of your need and your influence. We want to provide this bridge.
And if it does get out there, the one thing I'd say to that is, you know, I would actually offer extra financial assistance to anybody on my team, like any of my qualifiers or personal enrollments. If they wanted to do something crazy and run insane and rank up to diamond, like let's say I'm a double diamond right now, right? And I'd love to hit double blue. So the people that are on my front line that are silvers, for example, and if they said, hey, I really want to go to gold, I would totally be willing to give them extra money for them to hit gold every month or to reach for platinum or diamond. So it's not something that is exclusive to one person. Like if anybody came to me and said, hey, what would I have to do to earn an extra $2,000 a month for you? I could give them a target that's worth it for me, for them to hit, for them to get those resources. You know, they might not, because that's the other thing that the bridge does is it sets a bigger expectation in their mind. Like you can require more of them when they're getting an extra $1,000 a month from you or $2,000 a month. All of a sudden you can say, hey, listen, you need to hit silver your first month, or you need to hit silver your second month. And I'm even more aggressive in the goals that I set for bridge plans than the Goddards. They're more like, oh, elite first month, premier. And like me, if you're getting any extra money, it's because you're hitting premier or silver in your first 2 months. That's it. Like otherwise you just don't deserve it. You need to just build it in the normal, you know, with the normal compensation plan. So,
You know, I think this is important, and I think it's important this time of year. Like I was talking to another leader, and she's got some people that are just really struggling right now. And so it doesn't have to, like, we've got to be aware of our business and what's going on. And those people are really struggling and getting a lot of pressure from husbands. And it's like, okay, where that's an issue and we feel like those people might be critical or on a precipice, we might offer something like double fast starts November, December, January to help people through a season like that are on your team. Be aware of what's happening, of the lay of the land. If we're not aware of like, oh, hey, my people are hurting, their husbands are pitching on this, or you know, show up to meet the needs of your people and your team. And then what I hear from you, Matt, is show up to meet the needs of these new people that you're coming to know. And when we do that, and when we create value that way, it will flow back to you. Everything will work out for you. So we have an amazing year. We're closing out strong. Thank you, Matt, so much for bringing these insights. So useful. You guys, let's see some love in the chat. If this was useful for you and you would like more topics like this, drop it. Isn't Matt amazing? Thank you so much for sharing your insights. We have Kirk Jowers lined up for in a couple months. He's got some more insider information of companies that may be along these lines. And then I want to see, would you like anything on taxes next month at the beginning? Was that helpful in the past? Those type things, or we could all just have Christmas month off too, whatever you want. Let's see it in the chat. We'll take a quick vote here or in the no taxes. Danny's like, it doesn't apply to me. Come on, we're an international.
No, I said no month off.
Okay.
Teach whatever you want. No month off.
Okay. Okay. So what if we talk, unless Kirk can come next month. I think he's on for January. Then we'll hit on taxes and abundance, right? Mindset and some things that can help you go there next month. So, so grateful. May you be totally blessed. Remember, gratitude is the great multiplier. So keep bringing that into your business this month. I am listening to Tiffany Peterson's gratitude series, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to multiply my joy, my business, so many things, right? Bring gratitude in and take time with that, and you will. I'm so excited for all that's going to flow to you, for these leaders that are waiting for you, and for you answering the call. Love you guys. See you next month.